This is your go-to podcast for the breaking news across the NFL, while breaking down how this might affect your fantasy team's success. Are you ready to be a champ? Then welcome to Fields of Fantasy.
How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Jonny B, and welcome to Week 8 of DFS with Fields of Fantasy. And of course, we have got the man himself back in the recording studio, back from Lubbock, and back from being engaged while out in Texas. Welcome back, Dowie. Congratulations and commiserations to whoever have.
Thank you very much, Jonny B. I am back from a trip of the lifetime. Well, a trip of the lifetime for my missus because she got engaged to me. I had the best time out in Lubbock, Texas. Highly recommend it for anybody who wants that real football experience. Now, Lubbock is a place where Texas Tech is everywhere. It's a proper football town. The people are different there. Like, they're so welcoming and engaging, and a big thank you to everyone I met out there and for welcoming me. And it was just a great experience, and one I will definitely be back.
Yeah, it did sound like you had a once-in-a-lifetime experience and plenty of stories to keep hold of, mate.
Yeah. And as I say, out in Lubbock, Texas, wreck 'em.
Yeah. Guns up.
Guns up, baby.
Guns up. Right, so as always, you like to go through the odds, don't you? So we can have a look at what are the overs and unders for this week on the redzone slate before we go into our teams, because we like to look at the what the Vegas are putting the odds are before we start looking. So crack on.
Yeah, so there's two games that are going to stand out for me.
Okay.
There's quite a lot of like low 40s, mid 40s, but two games have stood out. Cowboys and the Broncos, 50.5.
Yeah.
And the Bears and the Ravens at 49.5 with the return of Lamar. So
yeah,
they're the two I'd really be looking at if you go off the odds.
Yep.
Cowboys Broncos game I do like.
That doesn't surprise me. I've got 5 players in the 2 games. I've not looked at the odds, but in my team, I've got 5 players for them 2 games.
I don't think I've got as many, but there is obviously... We might actually have a few of the same players this week.
I think we could. I had quite similar to Josh last week. I think we had four the same, which is the first time we've been really similar, I think, this season. Usually we're quite different.
So should we start with quarterback? Who you got, Jonny B?
Well, I went down the list, and there's a few people. And in the end, actually, I wanted to spend my money elsewhere. And I think with the opposition, with Baltimore, their defense has been pretty shoddy so far this season. And at the price of 15.2 million, I think it's an opportunity to get a player with the potential ceiling of hitting into those 20 points. You know, he had 25 points against the Vikings. He's had 29 points against Cowboys. It is Caleb Williams. And I think I just picked him because out of the quarterbacks around, I could have gone Prescott potentially and had a Lamb stack for that game. But I just thought I preferred a stack of Williams and a Bears asset than I did with Lamar Jackson and a Baltimore asset. So that's why I've gone Caleb over the other QBs.
Yeah, I like it. And if you look at the odds, the points totals, you know, the 2 games you should be targeting.
Yeah.
And I also would say with Lamar, you don't know what you're going to get off him. We've been out so long.
I agree. And that's,
will it take him a bit of while to gel with the wide receivers? And did you see that video what come out of him last night when he was absolutely stoned getting like some food?
Oh no, I haven't.
Check that out. It's quite funny. He's like proper stoned, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's getting himself like some chicken and chips or something.
Oh dear, that's not a good look, is it?
Nah, but yeah, I like that Caleb pick, and I've probably gone with it could be the most owned quarterback, but I just love the matchup. I've gone Bo Nix, 18.4. Now the Cowboys allow the most points to quarterbacks. In this game as well, you've got a Cowboys offense who can put up points. So, you know, it's not like one of them. I looked at Josh Allen and I think the Bills win comfortably, and that's when they can start running the ball. I think in this that he's gonna have to throw for all the games, so I prefer Broncos defense to the Cowboys defense, so that's why I went Bo Nix over Dak.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix. I think if I wasn't looking at it from a point of where do I want to stack, the first QB I was looking at and going to pick was Bo Nix. It was more I was just unsure on what asset I want to stack him with because you could go Sutton, you could go Mims, you could go Engram, but none of those assets have lit the world alight with their points total so far this season, despite Knicks having over 30 points last week. So that was the reason I went with Caleb over him. But I think as a second choice, it would have been Bo Nix for me quite easily. And you don't have to stack your QB in all your lineups, do you?
No.
You can if you want to. But yeah, to be fair, I say that as if I've not gone and got Broncos assets anyway, because I do. But yeah, I think one of those two QBs I could see both being very popular this week.
Yeah. I think that's what I like the Caleb one. I think he'd be like the fourth out of the four. So
Yeah.
the percentage on him is going to be a lot lower, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably will be, but then of course, then you've also got the price point avenue, which might be more influential. Because I could definitely go for 15.2 Williams over a 17.9 million Dak Prescott.
Yeah, because you don't know how that Broncos defense will turn up. If it turns up good,
No,
that could have a hard night.
Could ruin it. But then if that puts everyone off, and actually Cowboys still score points and Prescott goes off, then he's low percentage owned, and then actually you got Dak. So I could see why I probably have some Prescott in my lineups, but I think probably the QBs from those two games are going to be very, very popular. Cool. Running backs then. So this week, I've actually gone with three. And most of the time, I like to go 2 and 4 wide receivers or an extra tight end. But this week, I've actually gone with three. We've already spoken about the two big games, Denver, Dallas, Baltimore, and the Bears. And I've gone with the running back from both of those games. I've gone with Henry because of the price point of 12.8 with a favourable matchup against Chicago, who have conceded plenty of points against running backs so far this season. 17.5 on average, and plenty of yards as well. So, and even if like Ravens' offense struggles to an extent, I think we know Henry can go off if he wants to go off. And at that 12.8, I do fancy him. I can see that price going a lot higher throughout the rest of the season. And do we really think the Baltimore team's going to be as terrible as it has been to start with? I think they will eventually build some momentum. And then the other pick I've picked is J.K. Dobbins against Dallas, because Dallas are just the worst team against almost every single position, well over 700 yards on the ground to running backs. And J.K. Dobbins can get some pass catching work as well. And Dallas have, given away lots of pass catching work to running backs as well. So at 12.6 again, I think is again very well priced. So I've picked two quite cheap running backs. They're probably, 15th to 16th cheapest running back, something like that. And then because I've been able to do that as cheap as that, I've then just gone with Bijan against the Miami Fold because, again, they are probably the worst team against running backs, in my opinion. Although it is the Bengals statistically on average per point, but when you look at yards, they've conceded the most yards, and they've conceded 5 touchdowns to the running backs as well. So I think it's a game that's going to favour Bijan massively. And I can also see this game where Atlanta might probably put up a lead and then they're just going to run the game out. And then you're just going to get those volume points off Robinson as well.
Really good.
So them are 3 running backs.
So I haven't got any of them running backs.
Oof.
But Derrick Henry is still in my question mark book whether to put him in. So when I
Hmm.
was doing my team, it was either a wide receiver or a running back, and at that price point, I did really like Derrick Henry, and I might still put him in.
It's that price point, isn't it? 12.8 million for a desert is cheap as chips, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So I did really like that. Bijan, no brainer every week, to be honest with you. And
Yeah, it's
Dobbins,
easy
you
choice.
can't argue them points. But I've actually got I've gone two running backs, and I've gone two different. My
Okay.
first pick, very similar to your Bijan. I've gone JT, 20 million.
Mm.
They're playing the Titans, one of the worst teams in the NFL. My theory behind it is if the Colts put up some early points, they'll probably just run the ball out, wouldn't they? And JT's having the season of his lifetime again, so I just think it's a high volume game where the Colts can run it out. So really like JT there. And then there's a stat you just said, which was the reason for my second pick. Who's allowed the most points to running backs?
Bengals.
So I went with Brees Hall, 13.4. And a reason why I like him this week is because I believe, now they haven't confirmed it, but I think Tyrod Taylor's going to be at quarterback.
Yeah.
So he
It,
should
it,
have more volume now. Justin Fields is not keep running the ball from him.
yeah, you would have thought so.
So
Um, yeah.
this could be a
Carry on.
peak Brees week, I think. So yeah, that's why I gone Brees Hall. And I think because he hasn't been brilliant this year, his ownership might still be low.
I think you're probably right because I think people are going to just favour going towards assets in different matchups,
But you know
like
what?
the
Brees
ones we've
Hall had a
already
big week,
mentioned.
didn't he? Was it week one or two? And he's only had the one massive week, but I think this is a week where he can repay it. And at 13.4 million, pretty cheap as well, isn't it?
He is, yeah. Um, he is questionable at the moment, but even that, I don't think it doesn't sound
Everyone's
like
pissing questionable in
I
the
know,
league.
doesn't sound like it's anything that's too much to be worried about. And with the QB like Tyrod Taylor, you're going to think that they're going to try and rely on Hall to take a lot of the volume away from him. I would have thought.
What do you think about the
So I
JT
do like the
pick?
point. Well, the JT picks is an easy one as well. It's one of those, isn't it? You can go JT, you can go Bijan. I do like JT. You know, the majority of JT's work is on the ground, and the Titans have conceded 10 touchdowns on the ground already this season, and we haven't even got into week 8 yet,
Yeah.
which is terrible. And then I think they're the only team that are on double digits as well for that. So you'd think that in this type of game that JT should be able to get 2 touchdowns
Yeah. Over
quite
100
easily.
plus yards.
And I just think the way that the Colts are set up, um, when they get to the red zone, just give it JT quite easily. So I do quite like that pick, to be honest. So
Thank
I
you,
think
sir.
I will be spreading picks of Bijan and JT throughout my teams. It's going to be hard to afford both, although that would be nice, wouldn't it? So yeah, wide receivers. Again, I've looked at the 2 games you mentioned at the start of the podcast, and by the way, I didn't look at the points tables. I went off of my gut, and obviously Vegas agrees with my gut, but
Maybe you get a job in Vegas doing the lines for him.
I'd be able to. You never
They just
know.
say, Johnny B, what's your gut saying?
Nobody wants to know what my gut's saying most of the time, but we don't need to get into details.
And you'll be like, my gut's saying over 50 points.
Yeah, something like that. To be honest, I didn't think it was going to be like 55. I know Dallas seems to be that every week, no matter what team they're playing at the moment, doesn't it? Anyway, so I went with Williams at QB. I've gone with a Dunze at wide receiver. I do like a Dunze. He's disappointed me last week. I'm not going to lie, and the week before, to be fair, but I didn't really go as hard the week before. But I do think he's got the capability of getting into the high 20s. He has hit a 30-pointer this season against the Lions, of all teams. And I think if you think it's going to be a shootout and you're picking Williams, you're kind of having to back a Dunze. I think it's hard to want to go elsewhere with a stack. I do like Swift, by the way, but he's questionable. But if he starts, then I would probably play Swift in a lot of my lineups, potentially alongside Williams as well, if I didn't have a Dunze. But at 13.2 million, again, it's a very well priced player. And if I'm going into the Dallas Denver game, I think it's hard not to back Sutton if I'm picking a Denver asset. And as you've gone Bonix, I predict that you probably have him as well.
That's our first player.
Yeah, like I thought you might if you had Bonix. It makes a lot of sense. And the only reason, and seeing as I've picked Sutton or Dunze, I've had the money, I probably could upgrade Williams to Bonix, because my argument of I don't really know what asset to go for in Denver doesn't really sit when I've actually gone and picked one anyway. So if I could save money somewhere, which I don't know where I'm going to be able to, then I could upgrade it. But my third wide receiver, because I haven't got JT, I've still wanted to pick a Colts asset against Titans. As you say, they are one of the worst teams in the league, and their secondary's always been awful. And I pretty much said it, I reckon, 3 or 4 weeks in a row right now. I like to target that Titans secondary. And guess what I'm going to do this week? I'm going to target again, and I'm going to pick Pittman Jr. quite easily.
Bing, bing, bing. We got 2 players matching.
Yeah, well, there we go. 20 points last week. I think Pittman Jr. was a bit of a disappointment last season for people that would picked him in their fantasy teams. But he's looked a lot better this season. He's had 2 20-point games, one against the Chargers and one against the Finns. And against the Titans, where he scored 19.3 points in week 3, I think you'd hope that he's at least going to get you that. And he's got the potential to get you more. It's more whether or not JT is going to rob you of that red zone work. But if you've got JT anyway, I suppose you don't have to worry too much, do you?
I like it, Jonny B. Obviously, we got 2 out of 3 are the same. Dunze is an obvious pick, as Williams is your quarterback, so I like that. And it's the second highest scoring game on the slate, so I've got no grumps with that. So, of course, I've gone Sutton, pair him up with my QB. We know the Dallas League points. I think Sutton can bully them and have a real big game, so that's why I went with Sutton. Pittman, same again. I'm targeting a weak defence. I think he'll score high, good price point on him. So that's what I'm. So my other 2 wide receivers. Now, I do like the Bears and Ravens game, and Lamar loves Zay Flowers. So 13.5, I've gone with Zay Flowers. Nice little tag team duo. That game's to go off. I think Zay Flowers can go off. So he's one I've gone there. And of course, I spent quite a bit higher at quarterback and running back than you, didn't I?
You did.
So I've had to save money. And I've took my first big low gamble. Tez Johnson, 8.6 million. No Mike Evans, he's done. Ibuka, I don't know how fully fit he is. I know he played last week, but after that injury, Baker throws the ball a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to catch you, haven't they?
So, but in the last 2 games, he's had a touchdown. Not great yardage, 56, but 8.6 million. If he was to get 50 yards and a touchdown, he's paid his price point, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you get a touchdown, you're happy, aren't you, with him?
Yeah.
And he could be similar to what Cade Otton was last year for him. You never know, really, do you?
So I just think at a price point, it's a nice little gamble, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it. It wasn't even on my radar, to be completely honest.
Yeah, because we never normally scroll that far back, do you?
No, but, I hardly ever do. But again, against the Saints, I do like that quite a lot, to be fair. So matchup's good.
And
if Ibuka comes out as being a maybe, I could quite easily put him in instead of somebody else, swap Williams to Bo Nix, and be very happy.
So yeah, I'm guessing the only question mark you would probably have on my wide receivers is Zay Flowers.
Yes, to be honest, it's not a pick I like. We know where Zay Flowers has got the talent. I just don't have the faith in the Ravens being good enough at the moment, or I have enough faith in Lamar and his fitness. And I think that's quite important if you've got, say, Flowers. And within my lineup, I've got Henry, and I'm backing Henry. So I think Henry will rely on that kind of like storyline that I've just said to score big and what pay his price off. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Say Flowers, to be honest. I like him as a player. I just don't like the situation at the moment.
I hope he shuts you up.
Hopefully, I like. If I've got him in loads of my fantasy teams, so it would do me a service if he could score some points, because all he's done is score points against Buffalo Bills at the moment in week 1, but everyone scored points against them at the moment, so it doesn't make much difference. Apart from this week, I'll tell you what, my favourite week of the season so far, because the Bills didn't lose. Right, tight ends. So, could you even guess my tight end?
I don't know what your money's like, because I feel like you've spent pretty. You've been quite.
So I've come into my tight end and defence, and I've currently got 18.5 million to spend across both.
Oh, so you can get a good tight end.
I could if I wanted to.
Oh,
but have I?
With that, well, I would say no.
Yeah. So I've gone basically with, let's target the worst team against tight ends. There's only one team that's really pushed past that 10-point barrier, and that is the Bengals. It's conceding an average points per game. They have conceded over the first 7 weeks 9 touchdowns to tight ends, which is by far more than any other team. They've conceded well over 500 yards. There's only one other team that's done that, and that's the Colts. And apart from the Jets, who've conceded 6 touchdowns, and the Packers conceded 5 touchdowns. Right, if you discount the Jets, you can't find 2 teams that have scored more than 9 touchdowns. If you put that together, conceded more than 9. So for me, I'm just going to target the Bengals here with a tight end. I also like the storyline where you think, okay, they're bringing in Tyrod Taylor as the QB at the Jets. So will he need a tight end safety blanket? Potentially. You're also, he has had weeks where he's scored. So he scored 11 points against Dolphins, scored 17 points against the Cowboys. And in general, I don't like spending much money on tight ends. I've said it while you're away, Dowie. I don't like spending much money on tight ends this season, because they don't concede. Teams don't seem to concede too many points to tight ends at the moment, and I don't think there's too many on this across the league that are reliable enough they're going to score week in, week out. Maybe you look at the Colts potentially. Apart from, how many tight ends do you think are reliable week in, week out?
Not many. 2.
And are you going to pay the price for them?
I wouldn't know.
Well, I knew you would, because you don't do it. You hate tight ends. But anyway, I've gone with Mason Taylor for the Jets against the Bengals, because he's 9.7 million. I didn't want to spend much money on him. He's allowed me to get some decent assets across the rest of my team. But I do think, because of the matchup, if he gets me to 15 points, I'm happy.
You know what's quite funny, Jonny B? You just said I haven't spent a lot of money on tight ends.
But you got Jake Ferguson.
I spent less, and I still felt like I overpaid.
How much have you bought?
9.3.
Schultz.
Yeah. I thought, you know what? I spent my last night in Texas in Houston. I had a great time. Now, Schultz had a pretty good season. You know, he gets his last game, he had 9 targets for, I think, about 90 yards. 9 targets, 98 yards.
He's picked it up the last game or two.
Every other game, well, the 3 games before that, had 5 receptions, 60, 30, 39. Against San Fran, they're going to have to throw the ball, because San Fran will put points up against them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just like him, you know. I think but to be honest, he's just a memento pick from a holiday, really. But
I was going to say that's the only reason I would have thought.
But he's a tight end who he consistently catching balls, so he gets used. couple of injury issues as well, entering the Texans wide receiver room.
Yeah, if you've got Collins out, then they're going to pass it somewhere, aren't they?
So, but you know what? 9.3 million. I didn't mind the pick.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But then I don't love any of the tight ends. So
I think it's one of them picks. To be honest, he ain't gonna go off, but he'll probably score a consistent score, won't he? He won't kill your lineup. He'll keep you competitive.
yeah, I'd hope he gets to double digits.
Mm.
DSTs then. I wonder how much money have you got left for a DST?
Well,
So I actually picked my DST like early. One of the first things I picked.
I actually picked my DST before my tight end.
Same.
And it's a defense I like. It's a good price, and they're playing a team what completely sucks.
I reckon we got the same, surely.
How much have you spent?
8.5.
Oh, I spent 8.6.
Off you've gone with the Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see Saints putting up much against them, can you?
No, probably not, to be honest. Probably not. I picked mine just because I think it's a good meme at the moment. So I've gone with the Falcons, just because I like the Tua meme at the moment, where his highlight reel is basically him throwing interceptions. The amount of turnovers that Miami are giving away seems like a no-brainer, and I do think Falcons, from a fantasy point of view, is one of the best DSTs so far this season.
Yeah,
I think they're like
I can't argue that.
5th or 6th best on the slate. But I think with the matchup as well, I think the price is. I like the price, and I fancy paying up for a DST this week.
Yeah, I was quite happy with the Tampa price because I like Tampa. I think Tampa are a good defensive team, to be honest.
Yeah, I do as well. To be fair, if I had a bit more money, I probably would pay up for the Colts again. But
Is Spencer Rattler still quarterback at the Saints?
probably. I don't even watch any of the football for the Saints because what's the point?
Yeah.
I can't remember much of the highlights for the Saints this season. Although Olave went off last week, actually, didn't he?
Yeah. I'm a bit like with the news, obviously coming back, being jet lagged a bit. I've missed a bit of news, but I just feel like the Saints have been that bad. Like, have they changed the quarterback yet?
Yeah, but then maybe. I couldn't even tell you what. Do you know what? I can't remember what the score was last week for the Saints.
But yeah,
Couldn't tell you.
I'm confident in Tampa in a way on that.
Yeah, I think most people would be. Most people would be. Right, that has been all of our teams. Both of our teams for this week's fan team slate. Of course, there will be a link in the description as always. If you haven't joined fan team yet, you can do. It's 18+bgambleaware.org. But if you click on the description, you can even try it before you put your own money in. And if you keep enjoying it, why not put a bit of money and try and get some of that Christmas dollar so you don't have to pay too much money on your friends and family. You can fund it through Fanteam. What a better way to do it.
Ciao for now.
Yeah, see you later. Ta-da. Shorted.